Hi everyone, my name is Naina and I'm an illustrator at By Naina, and I'm also the co-founder of Turn Up PR. I am here today to speak a little bit about my journey with Showcase magazine. I actually studied economics in college, and I was always interested in the arts because I grew up being very involved in music, dance, and also took visual arts in high school. And then eventually I wanted to just experiment a little bit with digital art, and at that point I asked my family to give me a tablet, and they gave it to me for my birthday, and I finally started working on fashion illustrations initially and experimenting with them. And I decided that I would post these on Instagram because there was a small community of people posting on Instagram, whether that was their music, whether that was their art, and I thought I'd give it a try myself. And I started posting my artwork on my personal profile until one day I realized there was Lakme Fashion Week going on, and I wanted to recreate the designs from the collections at the Fashion Week in my own style, whatever stood out to me, and I wanted to tag the designers. So I created the illustrations and I posted it on my personal profile, and I thought I'd tag them. I'd tag Lakme Fashion Week and all relevant entities during that time, and I did it, and eventually within 2 days I started getting inquiries into my work, and that gave me the kind of boost and motivation I needed and the confidence also to pursue this as a hobby or as a field or a career even. And there were inquiries from magazines, from designers themselves. So initially, at that point is when I started working on digital illustration. I would say if you look at the work that I used to do before and the work that I do now, it's quite different. Not everything is sketch. Now I integrate more sketching. The initial work I used to do were all layer based. When I speak to people about my artwork, I think they do mention the kind of color palettes that I use. I like pastels, I like more muted tones. So I would say it's a lot of experimentation that brought me here. I would say it was kind of easy to transition from a tablet to an iPad, because when I was using a tablet, that I didn't have a screen on the tablet. It was me looking at a screen in front of me and drawing on a surface, right? The software that I would be using would be completely different, say because on my computer I'd be doing it on Photoshop. I realized I still preferred the iPad because I knew that there was always something that I wanted to look at and I wanted to draw while looking at it. There's a whole different feeling and whole different I think it was so at that time the pop culture news, or if you were a woman, that's where you went for how do you start your own business, or because there are magazines and newspapers that use artwork with stories, New York Times, the New Yorker mag, you name it, but they don't use it the same way that Refinery 29 was using it at that time. So I was very inspired. They had a very distinct style, and I was very inspired by the artists, their in-house artists, and there were many, and they all had very similar but different styles. So I think initially those were the kind of artwork and the kind of artists that I grew inspiration from beyond, because that's how I got into Mughal artwork. I don't really do the Mughal artwork you see in history and books and papers, but I'm very highly inspired by it. You'll see it in the work and the portraits that I create, and that's where it comes from because of the stuff I learned in school. I am very enthralled by history. I like learning about cultures. So I think I would like that to be more prominent in my artwork as I move along. Beyond wedding invites, maybe this will eventually be a wing that I pursue, because I've always also wanted to get into stationery, like personalized custom stationery, whether it's a wedding or not. So maybe that's something I will do, but I don't want this to be a thing. Highly dependent on where I travel to or the artwork I see. When I was in school, I loved Konop Chakman's work. She was one of my first few, inspirations, because she has her own distinct style. But now, more and more as I travel, I am inspired by Mughal artists. I can't name you who it is. There's so many artists, right? But Mughal artwork is something I'm inspired by. Recently, I visited Frida Kahlo's home, and I got to see the unfinished work that she sketched out but never finished. How she painted, the way that she painted, those were inspiring to me. I also visited the Van Gogh and got to see his work is an amalgamation of tiny strokes. And I can see myself implementing what I learned, into my artwork now, because now I like texture. I want to add texture to the backgrounds. I took a lot of courses about women in South Asia, women in history. Most of history is written about men, and whatever we learn about in history has been written by men also, because historically they have been in the forefront, or they have written about what they think, But when women write something, it's completely different. When women draw something about women, it's different, because they have a whole understanding. There was a particular time I was learning about Mughal history, and my professor, South Asian women writers who write about and who have written about women in Mughal history. So that inspired me a lot to focus on women. Then I started thinking about my country's history, right? Bangladesh's history. We think about war, we think about all the men who went to war in 1971 who fought for us, and very little is written about the women. We know about our Biranganas, right? But what about everyone else, right? There's so many photographs of men at war or men celebrating victory. There's also the photo of the women standing with their guns, a line of women protesting. So these are certain photographs, but I chose two because one is about, first batch of women in Dhaka University, they're in a library, so that was prominent to me. And I've had very meaningful conversations after I posted about it on my Instagram with people, they were saying, that's my nani, that's my dadi. So it was great to see that come together 360. So a lot of what I do is to create conversation, to learn also. It's been a great learning experience for me as well.